Hello, everybody, and welcome to the List Head-to-Head battle from Episode 6 of the Back to Dials podcast. So this is actually the fourth List Head-to-Head battle that we have, and it's Tyson versus Asa. I myself am Asa, and I'm here joined by producer Joe. Joe, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great today, Asa. How are things going for you?
It's been a really good day, actually. It's shaping up to be even better because we get to watch and comment on some X-Wing.
Right.
So, let's just go over the list here that we had in the head-to-head battle for. My list was entitled Snowdrift, and I brought a Defender and 3 First Order TIE Fighters. That is Colonel Vessery with Veteran Instincts, Omega Leader with Juke and Comm Relay, and then 2 Zeta Squadron pilots with Comm Relay.
Yep, love the use of Comm Relay in this one. You know, getting those evades and making use of those. Those tech cards. I think they need to get more use to. So
yeah, Comm Relay is such a good card. Just the ability to save an evade token round to round. It's a capability that can't be understated in its usefulness.
Right.
All right, and then why don't you read off Tyson's list, Joe?
Okay, so jumping over to Tyson's list here, it was called Santa's Little Helper. It came in at 100 points. He did a list with Eden Viril, and he put Jan Ors as a crew on there with the heavy laser cannon and anti-pursuit lasers, which I really kind of liked on there. Now, he put Jan Ors because he also has 2 Blue Squadron novices with R2 Astromech, integrated Astromech for that tankiness there, and Comm Relay on them so that they could use Jan Ors, take an evade token and keep them as long as possible.
Yeah, so they're also recharging that evade battery, much like my TIE Fighters are, but they do need some extra help because the T-70 does not have an evade action in its action bar.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that's just a way that Tyson has gotten around that to use Jan Ors to convert focus tokens into an evade tokens and make those T-70s a little bit more durable.
Yeah, it's an interesting list. T-70s with evade.
Right. It's pretty. I think it has a lot of hit points for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of attack power in the heavy laser cannon and the 3 attack of the Blue Squadron novices.
Right.
And anti-pursuit lasers give the large base and barrel roll capability of the YT-2400 a little bit of extra blocking punch.
Right, exactly. I think that's great. The toughest thing I think about this is the Eden Viril having the heavy laser cannon on it without the title. So in order to use that heavy laser cannon, he still has to make sure that he is pointing his ship in the right direction.
Right,
He's still got to play the
now,
arc game, right?
Granted, the YT-2400 is probably the most maneuverable of all the large ships that are released right now. It has a completely full dial, all the speed 1 to 4 straight maneuvers, speed 1 to 3 banks, and speed 1 to 3 turns. So if there's ever been a large ship that can get a heavy laser cannon on target that isn't an IG-88, it's the YT-2400.
That's right. That's right. No IG-88s in this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So any other thoughts before we look at the deployment here?
I don't think so. I think I predicted that the Snowdrift would win this. What did our users think?
So our users actually voted overwhelmingly in favor of Snowdrift. There's 82% of the votes. Santa's Little Helpers got 18%. But I can tell you from serious, it's going to be a very, very good game.
Absolutely. Most games between you and Tyson are.
Right. So as we deploy here, what do you think Tyson has to watch out for most in my list?
Boy, that's tough. You've got a Defender in your list, and the thing is if I were him, that'd probably be what I'd shoot for first. Defenders being such great jousting ships have a fairly high amount of hit points, all things considered, and some really decent attack on them, make them very tough. A lot of people don't play them because they're expensive for what you get, but at the same time, if it's a ship that works for you, then why not? I mean, these things can be nice.
And Colonel Vessery is one of the most reliable guns in the entire game. Because if you remember, Colonel Vessery's ability is that when attacking, if you're attacking a defender that already has a red target lock token, you may immediately acquire a target lock on that defender on the defender after rolling attack dice. So what that means is you can acquire a target lock and immediately spend it on that attack. Which has some really interesting ramifications for things like cluster missiles.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can put target locks on both those cluster missile attacks. But just with his primary weapon, even if you don't have a missile or a cannon equipped, it still hits very hard, coupled with the white K-turn that the Defender has, makes Colonel Vessery an excellent jousting ship.
Right. Now here we go with the slow roll moving forward. As usual, you and Tyson usually like to feel each other out in the beginning of these matches. So usually we see something like this, but also he has to charge up those tokens.
Right, and I think that's the biggest reason for Tyson going slow here is because he needs a couple turns where he can ensure that I'm not going to engage him so that those evade batteries on the T-70s can charge up.
Right, and then once he's in combat, if he uses one, then he can recharge it next round.
So now
assuming that he's still alive.
Yeah, so I've set my TIE fighters screaming forward here. And the reason for that is, you see that little asteroid in the center of the board there is giving me a lot of problems with how I want to engage from a corner, from an opposite corner position here.
Right.
And I want to be able to control the range as I go in, but to do that I need to be facing the right way, and I need to get around that asteroid.
Yeah, now I wasn't paying attention to the asteroid deployment. Was that Tyson that put that in there, or was that you?
I honestly can't remember. If it was me, then I will kick myself. But I have a feeling that it was Tyson, because I have been playing this list for long enough to know that's not a great place to put asteroids.
Right. Well, and looking at this list, I think it probably was Tyson because despite what he has in his list, I don't think he wants to straight up joust with you right off the bat.
Right. No, you don't want to. Well, and the other thing is, he actually has, I think, a more solid jousting list because the heavy laser cannon and the tankiness in those T-70s, the Defender is a very good jousting ship by itself, but 3 TIE fighters, that little TIE mini swarm, isn't exactly the best at just going toe-to-toe with X-Wings.
Maybe not, but one of them is Omega Leader, which makes him a little tough.
But he can only be tough against one ship.
True.
So he wants to get into position where there's only one ship that can fire at him. And so hence that's why I'm trying to drag Tyson through the rocks. Hopefully Eden Vril is going to end up on a debris field or an asteroid at some point to not get some actions. Those T-70s or the First Order TIE fighters with their Segnor's loops do a lot better at maneuvering in tight space with the one turns and Segnor's loops, do a lot better at moving in tight spaces than T-70 X-Wings do.
Right.
Plus, at the angle here, if I were to turn in right now with a bank maneuver, Vessery actually here has a really open K-turn lane.
Right.
From that angle. So that's one of the other things that I'm thinking about coming into this engagement, is to give those TIE fighters a good engagement path, to give Vessery a good clear K-turn path where it's not blocked by asteroids,
right.
And to lure those T-70s into a position where I can maneuver around them.
Right. Now, it looks like Tyson's going to give that to you because he's moving these 2 T-70s straight forward, kind of into that same lane.
Right. At
this
point, he's basically doing what I want him to do. So we've both charged up our comm relays, but Tyson's just come in probably focused. I can't remember if he focused or boosted, but I think he focused. And now here come my TIE fighters in. I want to engage him, try to pick off one thing before other ships have a chance to come into range, which is why I'm going quickly. Attempting to put a target lock on Eden Vril, so that Vessery could hit him if I come into range, but no dice yet, so I'll just focus. And that's one of the very nice things about Comm Relay in this specific list, is because not only does it allow you to enter the first turn of combat with Focus Evade if you want, it allows you to enter the first turn of combat, get your target lock to set Vessery up, and still be able to defend yourself.
Yeah.
With some other variants of this list that I've tested, the First Order TIE fighters come into combat, they take their target lock, but then they die because they don't have any defensive actions. And so being able to get the target lock and evade is really big and keeps those things alive for an obnoxiously long time.
With the First Order TIE.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just asked because in my experience, my First Order TIEs usually tend to last out. Although you're correct, I'm usually taking a focus.
Right. If they don't have defensive actions, then they're TIE fighters with one more hull. And the amount of times I've gotten TIE fighters overkilled by 2 or 3 points of damage is too many to count. So it's at that point, if you don't have a defensive action, they're just going to die anyway. So no combat on this turn.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like we're headed into round 3 here now, setting dials and stuff. Now, what are you thinking at this point? I mean, he took his YT-2400 straight forward. It's obvious he's sort of tried to flank you with it, or at least in a manner of speaking.
Right. So what I think he's going to do, I think he's going to turn in because the power of that heavy laser cannon is something that he wants to bear at the same time as those T-70s. So the T-70s already have focus tokens. I think Tyson is going to try to enter combat on this round. But if I were him, I would try to go slowly and hope that that lead First Order TIE fighter of mine overextends itself slightly from the rest of the pack and is at range 2 or so from the rest of his ships, and the rest of his guys are out of range, but he's going a little bit faster here. A little bit faster than I anticipated.
Are you hoping to get shots at the X-Wing first, or do you really want to get that out right now?
I actually don't have a target of greatest priority right now. It's going to come down to whatever I have the best shots on, because granted, the Outrider is a heavy laser cannon, and he's supplying those evade tokens with Jan Ors. But if I can get one of those T-70s convincingly, then that's a better shot. Right? It's probably going to be a better target. I'm still limited in 3 dice.
Right.
I guess the optimal thing here is that there's nothing that I don't want to shoot. Right.
Okay. So he makes a move here and lands himself right on that debris field.
Yeah,
now.
which is interesting because I thought that would a one hard turn would clear there, but you know.
I think I think when we talked about it there, when we were standing there, he said that he was afraid the 2 hard was going to hit the other one.
Yeah,
which is ironic.
Yeah, it's kind
I
of
think
an
the hard 2 actually
there.
might have the 2 turd might have actually cleared and put him a little farther up, a little bit closer.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So I move that TIE fighter in here. I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to focus or target lock. And if I target lock against 2, and I think what I'm doing here is I'm thinking that the rest of my TIE fighters are going to come in range. So I'll just put the lockdown with Omega Leader anyway on one of those lead X-Wings and not worry about the range for the other ones.
Right.
And just focus evade with those TIE fighters and hope that they get to use their focus. Hope that they have roll so that they can use the focus instead of needing a target lock.
Now it turns out you're being very aggressive with your TIE fighters. Was that the plan all along? Just be as aggressive as possible.
Right. So as I noted earlier, I thought that those X-Wings were going to be a little bit more conservative in their when they came forward. So I wanted to go as fast as I could to try to get all my ships in range at once. Now we see that they're all in range anyway, so that was
right.
a little bit of a moot point. But yes, when the TIE fighters are closer, they become more efficient blockers because in the knife fight, those Segnor's loops become a lot easier to use.
Right.
And B, the 1 hard barrel roll, the Matador turn, as some people have coined the phrase, becomes a lot easier to exploit as well.
Right.
So there's a target lockdown on that X-Wing there, just in case Omega Leader doesn't come into range. Plus, I have the feeling that he's going to try to shoot at Omega Leader or Vessery first anyway.
And nicely placed that Omega Leader just missed
Yeah.
the edge of that rock there.
That's a lot closer than I thought it was going to be.
Isn't it always?
Yeah.
It's just not quite exactly what I thought.
Yeah, getting a little lucky there. But here comes Omega Leader and Vessery in very aggressively. We're going to put all my guns on that one T-70 X-Wing. It does have focus evade. It is at range 3 of a couple things. But it's going to take a lot of damage here, and that's the goal.
The Defender, you mean?
No, the T-70. That's
the
my
T-70.
goal. Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
T-70 there in the lead.
Okay.
The one that is not painted up to look like Poe. Yeah, so we're just measuring range here. The measurement in question is Vessery, whether or not he's at range 2 here. And I guess we'll see when we roll dice into hitting 2 blanks. But Vessery, of course, gets a free target lock off of his ability, which rolls into 2 hits. And it looks like Tyson, I can't really see that.
Is that 2 evades, I think?
Yeah, he's not taking any shields off. So that looked like 2 evades to me.
Yeah, 2 evades. 2 natural evades, I think he did.
Yep. And he forgot to roll the extra die for range 3, so he just rolling that, and it came up with the same thing. But here comes Omega Leader, and he's gonna get nothing.
Yep, a couple eyeballs.
Yeah, so that's something that I've found is annoyingly common with Omega Leader is that he rolls a lot on the first round of combat. He tends to roll eyeballs a lot. And I don't want to blow my target lock right now because then I miss out on his ability.
Right, exactly.
Right, so a disappointing first roll or 2 with Vessery and Omega Leader, but I'm hoping that my TIE fighters can pull it out. So next, it'll be Eden Vril firing at me slightly through that asteroid. Tyson is trying to decide, I believe, which TIE fighter to shoot at or which TIE variant to shoot at because there are a lot of good targets there. So if you were Tyson, would you shoot at one of those first order ties or at Vessery first?
See, that's a tough one. Like I said earlier, I think Vessery is a very big target for me because he does a lot of damage. He's a great jouster.
Right.
You start getting into that place where he can K-wing around you or K-turn around you like that. He becomes very tough.
And indeed, that's what Tyson rolls. And I believe I'm going to take a shield off of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Looked like probably 2 hits to 1 evade.
No, that's
there's some glare on the dice cam that we have a hard time seeing a little bit.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Now the TIE Fighters, because they're at higher pilot skill than those X-Wings. So we're going to go ahead and roll that. For 2 hits with the focus spent off the first TIE Fighter. Or sorry, no, this is a target lock reroll off of that lead TIE Fighter. And it looks like he's going to blank out and
take 2 hits.
He blanked out, but he spent his evade token to take
Right.
1 hit. Comm relay really helping him out there, so he's got 2 shields left on that X-Wing.
Mm-hmm.
And here comes the second TIE Fighter. Range 2, I'll focus that. Not exactly ideal, but it still gets 1 hit, which it looks
he
like.
evades.
Yeah, he evades that. So that T-70 is tanking a lot more damage than I had hoped.
Yeah. That's the thing about those T-70s. They've got a lot of health to begin with, and even with 2 dice, it doesn't seem like they'd be, but they can be fairly evading. It's hard to bring those down in one round unless you've got a lot of firepower.
Right, so the T-70 coming back in on Vessery here. That'll be range 3. We should really start calling these results out.
Yeah, 1 crit, but it was avoided.
Yeah, 2 hits off of the second one, also at range 3.
Right, also evaded.
Also evaded,
right.
Indeed. So not as nasty a first round of combat as I'd anticipated here.
Right,
but
that's rolling a lot of dice.
Right, that's we're rolling a lot of dice. A lot of things are at range 3. A lot of things just kind of rolled poorly too.
Yeah.
So. So all those focus tokens will clear off, but the evade tokens won't, thanks to comm relay. And we are, let's say it with me, Joe, back to dials. Yeah.
So, yeah, we got a couple of damage out that round. We're going into round 4 here, setting the dials and stuff. So now we're crunched in a little bit. We're closer, right? What is it you're thinking? Are you fearing the blocks at this point, or are you just not afraid of that?
I'm fearing a block from that lead T-70. So one of the things that he could do to jam me up pretty well is do like a 2 bank in towards me, and then follow that up with a 1 bank or so in the rear, so that lead one supposedly blocks, or if something does get behind it, then that guy is poised to hit it at range 1 from the rear. So really the big thing, I believe this was the round that I'm considering, a Segnor's loop with that lead first order TIE Fighter, in the hopes that I just that T-70 does move a little bit quickly and I just S-loop right behind it.
Right.
Now the other quandary here is Vessery, because he wants to turn in a little bit, but I've set myself up so that I can't really turn in. If only he had a 1 straight maneuver, right?
I know. We're always wishing more out of our dials, aren't we?
Yeah,
if only my ship could do this.
I know. It's almost as if FFG decides not to give us everything.
I know. It's so that there's like strategy or something there.
Yeah. So what Vessery really wants to do is do like a 1 straight, but he doesn't have that. So a 1 bank to get him in a good K-turn lane is probably what is going to happen here. Well,
what if that YT-2400 turns in? Remember, he's low pilot skill with
right.
Vril
He
there.
moves, and that's also something that I'm kind of concerned about, because he does have anti-pursuit lasers, and Vril could do something wild like it's actually not super easy for Vril to get a really good block in here, right? Because he'd ideally want to slot himself in front of that lead TIE Fighter.
Right.
But the X-Wings move first. So so unless those X-Wings do something like K-turn and open up a gap for Eden Vril to sit in, he isn't actually going to be able to slot himself into that space.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah, so honestly, I think Vril might just do a 1 straight forward, something like that. Get 2 range 1, set himself up for a nice blocking position next turn, and just take some shots. Take some shots this round.
Sure.
But it's all really up in the air. Tyson that lead T-70 could K-turn, and Eden Vril could move into a really good position right in front of that TIE fighter and leave me in a huge bind. But we're just going to have to see here. I think at this moment I'm still agonizing over a TIE fighter's dial. That one in the middle is kind of in an awkward position.
Yeah, not a whole lot you can do there. I mean, but if you look at it, he could maybe even pull off the Segnor's loop as well, don't you think?
Right. Now, one of the things that Com Relay helps out with is collisions and bumping, because if you've already got an evade from last turn,
right,
you don't really need to take your action. And here we come. I'm picking up my dial to give him some space. A little bit slower than I had anticipated here with that T70.
He does the one bank. I actually expected it to be more like a one, because if you go two, you risk the chance of you bumping first.
Right. I anticipated a slightly faster maneuver from that guy, but in any case, he's coming in. Eden Vril just doing the one forward maneuver.
Does do the one straight. He wants to keep that heavy laser cannon forward.
Right.
And that's the thing about that ship. The way he built it is, you've got a choice. I can block and a pursuit lasers go to work, or I can slow roll and try to keep those heavy laser cannons going.
Right, and I think it has a nice. It has a wide variety of ways that it can be used.
Exactly.
Okay, and here come the TIE fighters and a Segnor's loop from that lead one. Now, this is going to be awfully close, so we're getting in here and we're just marking things as best we can. And that is going to clear by
just
like
barely.
A millimeter.
Right.
It's I'm really relieved that this S loop clears. Because again, I thought he was going to go a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't really prepared for a one bank. So I was concerned here that was going to block and get and train wreck the whole thing.
Yeah. Honestly, that was closer to the rear one than it was to the forward.
Yeah.
One. So I mean, you're just kissing the edge of that.
Yeah.
To pull off your maneuver, but it puts you in a great spot.
Right. And now that. That lead one, I do believe I was attempting this might have been an S loop with this guy as well.
We'll see if you put a stress down. I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
if that's
I can't
what
exactly remember. But again, I anticipated him going a little bit quicker,
right.
And not being blocked. No, that was just a 2 bank.
Right.
Vessery banking in with the 1.
Which I think is where your traffic jam starts, right?
Right. This is indeed where that starts,
yep,
because that's going to bump
yep.
just barely along that guy, and he does not get that focus, which I accidentally left on from last round. Can't remember exactly what we're arguing about or what we're talking about here.
I think you were asking who did that belong to?
That was one
because
of those
Vessery didn't get to keep his. He doesn't have.
Right, that was one of those Zetas evades, and then this Omega Leader just going 2 forward. And I realized after the fact here that they're both at pilot skill 8, so Omega Leader probably should have moved first. Right. So because it's more likely that he would have cleared.
Right.
Although that Zeta
and taking action, but he does have both his evade and his target lock already on there, and he actually gets to shoot at who he had the target lock on.
And Vesser's going to fire first at that T-70 range 1, 2 hits with looks like a focus and a blank, which I will target lock and reroll into 4 hits there. So Vessery doing Vessery things, and a poor roll there for old Tyson.
Blanked
out. It
out.
Looks like he's going to spend a focus or evade token.
That was an evade token.
He
went ahead
to
and
dodge
spent it.
1. And then here comes Omega Leader at range 1 for nothing again, except I'm going to take my target lock. Now that he has no dice modifiers,
right?
Might as well
and look
take
at
my
that
target lock
into
anyway.
hit crit.
Right, and it looks like even if that's one evade, I'm going to juke it away anyway. So he takes the hit on the hull.
Right.
Deciding when to pop integrated astromech right now, if I remember correctly.
I think he has to, doesn't he?
He can choose when it happens. So it just says when you receive a damage card. So he's going to take the face down, flip up the crit to see what it is.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and I believe he decided that this was not a super... Yeah, because now he's going for the other one, and he's going to pop integrated astromech on that critical hit.
And now he has no choice because that's a dead ship if he doesn't, right? Is that correct?
Right. It's a dead ship if he doesn't pop that one. But he was hoping for if the first one say is blinded pilot, you flip that
exactly.
one, right?
Yeah.
But if the first one is something that you can take, like in this case, I believe it was a thrust control fire. Oh no, it was a structural damage.
Structural
if I remember
damage.
correctly.
Yes.
I forgot to put the stress token on that Zeta, which is why I'm putting it down now. Mm-hmm. But it was a structural damage. And the second one, it doesn't really matter what it was because he tossed it, right? But it was a crit
no
that
choice.
kept him alive.
The only real question was which one does he throw away, which crit out of those two.
Right. So Eden Vril coming back. He's got no heavy laser cannon shot. So I believe he's going to fire at Vessery, who will almost completely blank out on his rolls, and will take, I believe, another couple shields off of Vessery there.
Right.
And now
I believe he did focus fire Vessery this entire round, right? I know Vessery, I think, comes out this round, if I recall.
Well, we'll see. We got a dice tower there from that Zeta in the rear. It's rolling 2 hits against the T-70. That's only got 1 hull point left, and we'll put that last point of damage on and take it off the board.
Oh, boy.
Yep. That's not what Tyson wants, because now he only has 1 T-70 left to fire back at Vessery.
Right. Yeah, this certainly puts him in. I mean, three TIE fighters and Vessery sitting there against 2 ships.
Right.
That's
not
gotta
ideal.
look pretty daunting.
And here comes another Zeta on that other T-70, which rolled a bunch of focus results.
Yeah.
So now Tyson's got free reign to come back at Vessery. Now Vessery is tokenless, and Tyson has his focus token, and he's going to hit for 4 on a shieldless Colonel Vessery, who immediately, it looks to me, blanks
looks
out.
like blanks out.
Yep. Takes a bunch of damage, and I think Vessery's
you rolled 3 focus on
1,
that.
2, and 3 as a hit crit, and I believe that was a direct hit, but it doesn't really matter because that's 3 damage, and Vessery comes off the board.
That was a direct hit.
Yep, indeed.
Boom.
Direct hit. So trading a T-70 for Colonel Vessery in this round, I think comes out ahead for Tyson. Wouldn't you agree?
That's a tough one because, again, Omega Leader is a tough ship to get out of the mix. Now you're down to 2 ships shooting at him. One of them that's going to have a hard time hitting him.
Right.
That makes it tough. To the other 2 TIE fighters, maybe that's an easier job for him now. I mean, he's got a kind of a heavy hitter in that heavy laser cannon if he can keep it in arc.
Right. I mean, Vessery is definitely the most consistent gun on the board, but he's not necessarily the most dangerous because Omega Leader shuts down a lot of things.
Yeah, it's tough to get him off the board once he gets rolling.
Right, especially with
the more
lesser
ships you have,
ships.
the easier time it is, right?
Right. So you might argue that it would have benefited Tyson to take Omega Leader off the board more quickly.
Potentially, that's hard to say because less damage potential out of him, though, because he's only rolling 2 dice.
Omega Leader does take some time to do his dirty work. Mm-hmm. The work that he does is oh so dirty, but it takes a little bit. So where do you think that Tyson is going to go or is going to want to go now?
So this is tough right now. I mean, does he make use of those heavy laser cannons? Does he try to keep utilizing those? I'm trying to remember I believe your pilot skill 8 is in the rear right there. So, and then the other 2 are moved just before him or just after?
Yes. So Eden Vril is pilot skill 3. My Zetas are pilot skill 3, but Tyson has initiative. Okay. So the Zetas are going to move second. And Tyson took initiative so that he could block.
Right.
And get those and fire those anti-pursuit lasers off.
And that's kind of working against him here because if he does take the turn into the TIE fighters, he's probably going to get blocked himself, right? He's going to go actionless.
If he gets those anti-pursuit lasers off, then he's going to get damage out of it.
But he can't hit you to get him off. You have to.
Right. Well, if he does a 1 hard turn to pilot right, he's going to be sticking right smack in the middle of my formation. The Zeta that had segmented loop last turn doesn't have a lot of options to clear that stress. Even if he runs into Omega Leader, even if he runs into my TIE fighters, he's still in the middle. So there's a large base ship in there that has a lot of blocking potential.
Absolutely. I'm totally with you there. It's just it's hard to tell at this angle, too. Does a 1 hard turn actually run into that TIE fighter? Probably not. Mm-hmm. And then he's sitting in a good spot. Plus, he's got his useless heavy laser cannons, I guess, if they run into him.
Right, but that next turn, he can K-turn.
But that middle TIE fighter there is going away from him, so it's a very good chance that he would have a 4-dice shot at that guy.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is even if he does get blocked by one of my TIE fighters, or even he wouldn't want to get blocked by his own T-70, but if he gets blocked by one of my own TIE fighters, then he's still in a good blocking position, right?
True.
He's still in the middle of everything. That thing has a 1 hard turn, so it can stay in the middle of everything.
He might do the safe move though and turn away. I mean, he's still throwing 2 dice. With that
He's still
guy.
got a turret. He has the opportunity to K-turn away to K-turn to get that HLC to bear again.
Exactly. So he might do the safe thing and turn away. But if it were me, I'd be looking to be a little more aggressive at this point.
Yeah. Now that T70, where do you think he's going to? Could we see a Talon roll here?
Potentially, that's a tough one because you've got when he Talon rolls and turns around, he could potentially have the TIE fighter that's sitting right next to him behind him again.
Now we remember he does, and it looks like he is going to Talon roll here. I wouldn't expect this to be a 3 hard turn. So it looks like we're going to Talon roll. Now, one of the things we got to keep in mind is that, yes, there's a Talon roll, and that these T-70s have the R2 astromech on them. So they have TIE Interceptor and A-Wing levels of stress clearing.
That's right.
And this one hasn't tossed his astromech out yet. So the next turn, he's actually in a great position to 2 hard turn back into the fight. Even if he doesn't get a shot this round, he's on the fringes. And clear off his stress there. And he does still have an evade token, so he's still defensive.
So he made the safe move with the
Right.
YT-2400, which I'm not sure that I really would have done that. But I understand why he did.
Right. So we'll see here what these TIE fighters do. So it's the concern with that T-70's Talon roll is that the TIE fighters might be able to evade its firing arcs.
Well, you have 2 TIE fighters that are already behind him. Do they actually come in front of him? And in this case, your first one doesn't.
Right. So I'm going to 1 hard turn here, and I think I'm in the firing arc right now, but the smart move is to barrel roll out of firing arc if I think that would be a good idea. Now, the question here, obviously, is if I barrel roll, I believe I dialed in a 2 straightforward with that other TIE fighter, with the other Zeta that had Segnored loops.
He didn't have a whole lot of choices since he was stressed there.
Right, and I don't want to self-block Omega either because Omega wants to get the target lock.
Right. And are we sure? Again, it's hard to tell at these angles. It looks to me like the T-70 could be in or could be out. It's hard to tell. Sitting
It would be
from this
easier to tell if
particular
Tyson and I quit bumping the table, but you know. Right, so I'm just going to decide to stay right there and put a target lock down. In this case, deciding to go after Eden Vril right off the bat here. So select my first target in that T-70, select the second target in Eden Vril, and of course this guy just goes a nice little 2 forward, and we will probably focus if I had to guess.
Focus, or you could target lock.
I could, yeah.
Either way, you're getting lots of shots on Eden Vril this turn.
Yep, I'm put down a focus. So. And then Omega
Here
Leader.
was the one, Omega Leader. Now, this was the thing about the Talon roll is if he turns left, chances are he's got a nice good shot that can't get return fire on.
Right.
I don't know if you did. I don't know if that's the thought process is trying to get that. I mean, did you expect that Talon roll?
I was kind of thinking about it. My thought was if he does Talon roll, then going this way does not hurt me at all. Because I'll be mostly, if not entirely, out of his firing arcs. If he does not Talon roll, then I'm still basically behind Eden Vril. So yeah, there's Omega Leader turning right in behind Vril, which is not what you want to see because I've got a really nice range 1 shot. I'm going to put a target lock down and go into firing against somebody that now cannot modify their attack dice or defense dice. Getting 2 hits off of that. Eden Vril, it doesn't matter if he got 1 evade because I'll just juke it away anyway.
Right.
So he'll take 2 shields off of that YT-2400 and then fire back because he has initiative.
Right now, it's looking like the turn the other direction would have been the better move for him.
Yeah, he would have train wrecked a good part of my formation there.
Absolutely.
And given the T-70 a nice shot.
Yeah, and now he's just taking a lot of small, paper cut damage.
Right.
Well, not so paper cut with the first one. I think he got 3 hits. Did he get all 3 hits?
It looks like he's going to focus and get 3 hits.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. I think, he's firing on the Zeta instead of Omega Leader. And the Zeta is going to, it looks to me like dodge all of it with the assistance of the focus and evade tokens.
Ouch.
Yeah. That's, TIE fighters do what TIE fighters do, and that's exactly what TIE fighters do.
But if ever Tyson wanted to see damage go through, I think right about
now is the time.
Now is a good time.
Yep. because Eden taking 2 from Omega. Next turn, Omega's going to have his focus as well, so it's going to be really rough. 2 hits off of that Zeta. It looks like 1 evade. No, that's actually going to be 2 evades. He's going to take the rest of the shields off. And and another. It looks like 2 more hits from a TIE fighter.
1 evade coming out.
1 evade,
on there.
and there's the shields off. And Eden Vril is now down to Hull. And at this point, we don't really track time in these games, although we probably should. At this point, I would have half points for Eden Vril because he's at Hull. That T-70 has no actions or no shots, so we're going to go back to Dials.
So it turns out not doing the barrel roll was a good move.
Right.
No shot.
I still got a target lock for posterity on Eden Vril.
Right.
And I'm not going to get shot at this turn.
Right.
Barely had a shot, though. If I remember, the arc for that shot was really close.
Yeah, another good round for you. No shot from the X-wing on you.
Yeah, that was actually
plenty
a really
of
good
damage.
round
That's
for
a
me.
shieldless Eden Vril now. That puts you way in the driver's seat, I think. At this point.
I agree. So that one Zeta did have to spend his evade token to not take any damage, but he also took no damage. So that's a win for me.
Right.
Now, where do you think Tyson is going to go here?
Now it's I don't know. Does he play the running game? He's not stressed right now, right? He's just
No. I think he has the opportunity, if he liked, to K-turn and joust the rest of those TIE fighters with his heavy laser cannon.
Can he make a K-turn? He's got that mustache in front of him there. That's a tough...
It's close. I mean, from this angle, I think he's got it. It's awfully close.
4K is a little tight, I think. But
yeah.
I think you're right. I think he does clear if he does a 4K. Now, that's just to get him back in the fight with that heavy laser cannon. He could, again, make the safe move, take a right-hand turn here, and keep firing away with those, maybe even range 1, get 3 dice.
Right, he could also take like a 1 hard turn and barrel roll back into the middle of things and try to block. That T-70 coming over, bumping, but he's back into the fight. He's got his arcs to bear now. And Eden Vril is, in fact, doing a 1 hard turn now. If he takes the barrel roll here, he could very well train wreck a lot of my formation because he's actually in a very good position.
Yeah, can he make that barrel roll? Is the rock in the way?
Yeah,
that's
and here
a tight
comes
one.
the barrel roll. I think the question isn't really the rock, is whether or not the barrel roll will clear.
I think that's going to clear.
Yeah.
That's a pretty smart move, pulling himself back into the mix there.
I think it was too. So we have a barrel. He's going to hit the rock next turn. But if it saves him some damage, gets some off with any pursuit lasers, then it's going to be a good choice, I think. And here comes the Zeta. Let's see if I decide. No, see, I thought that he would take a faster turn, and so the Zeta is coming around to try to maybe deal with that T-70. And that's not. He's not in a great position right now. He'll have no shots. He'll be taking a shot from Eden Vril. Yeah, not in a super great position, but and neither is this TIE fighter because again I thought he might go a little bit quicker, so I'm setting up for a quicker maneuver, and in this case the TIE fighter is not in a super great position, so I'm not sure if he has a shot right now or not.
I'm pretty sure he does. It looks like the way you set up, you've got pretty much all your tokens now.
Yep, and then Omega Leader is gonna get blocked.
Here's where the bump comes.
Yeah,
now, does he take the damage is the thing. Did we forget?
Nope,
there it goes.
Lasers, and
there's a
it
hit.
Goes off. There's a hit and 1 shield off of Omega Leader.
Right. Best way to get that on Omega Leader is unavoidable damage.
I very much agree.
Yep.
So, there's a damage on the shields of Omega Leader, or shield of Omega Leader. And he'll have no shot this round, and it probably looks like a range 1 shot. Range 2 shot from that X-Wing behind him if he wants to take that. It'll be unmodified anyway, so you might as well, right?
Yeah.
Eden Vril taking a shot with 1 hit at that Zeta. Handily evaded. He has the evade token anyway.
Yep.
And it looks like I do have a shot from that trailing Zeta on Eden Vril, and I'll take that, focus it for 3 hits into what looks like
2 evades.
2 evades. Yeah, so only 1 damage on Eden Vril. That was a nice roll for Tyson.
It was.
Here comes the T-70 now onto Omega Leader, I would assume. It's an opportunistic shots, but you won't be able to modify your attack dice anyway, so it's something that you might as well take.
Right.
And he rolls nicely, 2 hits into 2 evades.
2 evades, yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, so no damage. And that's the thing about these TIE fighters, man, is they you never know how hard it is to kill a TIE fighter until
you
you
try
have
it.
to kill
Yes.
that TIE fighter right now. So Eden Vril here, where does he go?
Well, even if you take the hard turn, if you take the turn to the left, I guess it's pilot left, you would still hit that rock. So he's really got his choice if you think about it. Now,
Yep.
I think he's going to want to turn to pilot right and maybe pursue that other TIE fighter a little bit.
It's close.
to
He might
keep
get
them-
blocked onto that asteroid. If he ends up hitting that TIE fighter, I think he'd
Let's say he
sit
takes a
himself down on
3
the asteroid.
bank. He's going to be well outside
Yeah,
of that.
3 bank. Now the other option, he could one hard to the left, as we mentioned, but I don't think that's a great idea because if he does hit that rock, which it looks like he will, then you get no actions, and those TIE fighters are probably going to come up right on your tail.
Maybe too hard to the right would keep you still just clear of that other asteroid. You're going to run through this one anyway.
Yeah.
You go actionless, but now you're in a better position too. Like you force those TIE fighters to have to probably K-turn to get back into this fight. Maybe. He's far enough away he could probably take a 2-turn.
Yeah. Or
and still get a shot.
Or he could K-turn and
but
get the HLC on target.
What you're doing is you're pushing them back into that line of sight of the X-Wing.
Right. And the X-Wing's already in a very good trailing position here.
Yeah.
I think the X-Wing's just going to take like a 1 bank because he knows that they're going to follow Eden Vril a little bit, and indeed, here is the 1 bank. That's going to fit in nicely, so he's going to get a nice shot here, I think, depending on where those TIE fighters end up. Eden Vril this is probably a K-turn. I wouldn't assume that anything other than that he would go 4 straight.
K-turn through a rock. Brave move.
But at least he has the heavy laser cannon on target.
Absolutely.
He's got a shot. He is farther away from some of those TIE fighters, so nobody's going to get range 1 shots on him.
Good place to take it because he's got all of the TIE fighters, it looks like.
It
Well,
looks
at
like-
least as far as we can tell so far, it looks like he's going to have all of them.
And he takes a crit. This is a structural damage on Eden Vril.
That's
So now
unfortunate.
that is unfortunate. A risky maneuver, sometimes those paid off, but in this case, it did not because now he's going to be taking fire at reduced agility.
Yeah, which that sucks.
Yep, so TIE Fighter, 1 hard. I could barrel roll here, maybe get a shot, but I'm going to choose to put down a target lock for future rounds. 2 bank with this guy, just going to get him into the range of fire. I mean, that's all I got to do right now is keep sight on Eden Vril.
I'd like to
Keep
touch on
hounding him.
that TIE fighter real quick. Did not barrel and take the target lock. I think that is something that a lot of people don't do. They're desperate to, it seems like they're just salivating to get that shot. And I think it's better to wait a turn and have that extra action than it is to try to push something unaction shots.
I agree with you in a lot of circumstances. I think in this case, getting that shot this turn is not critical.
Exactly.
And I want a heavier hitting shot next round so that I can push through that evade token.
Well, and he's in a position not to get shot back. And I just think, no matter the situation, if you've got that, that's a great time to take that target lock. Some people just, especially beginners, right, are just going to push to get that shot, which isn't a terrible thing, but unaction shots are the ones that miss the most.
Right. So here comes Omega Leader. Eden Vril has no dice modifications anyway, so I'm going to blow my target lock to go for 2 hits there.
One's a crit.
Yep, and he's only rolling. That's at range 2.
blanks.
So he's going to blank out on that 1. Which wouldn't matter. I'll juke it away anyways. One of them is a crit, which maybe he'll give us the luxury of being able to see what that crit is now, but it doesn't.
I don't
look
think he's
like
following the rules today.
Yeah, and here comes Eden Vril back with an unmodified HLC shot. But oh my
3
god,
hits?
that looks like
4.
3 hits, 4 hits. So that's going to be all those turn 2.
Right there, it's a heavy laser cannon, so those are all hits, not crits.
Mm-hmm. Now an interesting thing. And Omega Leader is going to
One evade. He has to spend his token.
evade token.
In fact, did he spend both?
He did not have a focus token. He had barrel roll.
Oh, okay.
So he's going to spend his evade token to barely stay alive.
Wow.
Now, there's actually an interesting interaction there because if Omega Leader had Eden Vril target locked, those crits would not have changed to hits, and I would have taken crits there instead.
Is that right?
Yes,
So
that has
that
been clarified.
modification can work against him in this particular case.
In this particular instance. 2 hits, though, from that Zeta. Eden Vril blanks
Eden
on
Vril
his
goes
evade
down.
rolls, and Eden Vril is down. So at this point, It's just one T-70 facing off against Omega Leader and 2 Zetas. And it's really, can he take down Omega Leader now with 1 hit point and no tokens on my part? It's not unheard of.
If he takes him off, then maybe makes a game of it. If he doesn't, well, he did his work there.
Yeah, he's going to focus that for 3 hits, so I have to get 3 evades, and I do not. So Omega Leader's going to come off the board there. It looks like taking at least 1, maybe 2 hits. There's a crit in there. It doesn't really. If I remember correctly, that was another structural damage. This was the game of structural damage.
That's right. It was. I remember that now.
There's
structural damage again. That's a third one.
That's the third one. Yeah, and then there's 2 Tyson showing up. So we have 3 out of the 4 structural damage amongst both of our damage decks here. So Tyson's made a little bit of a game of it here. Now he's just facing off against 2 Zeta Squadron ties.
I think at this point, weren't we kind of joking that this is we're now down to the base
the core set game.
Core set game.
Yeah, except for the couple key differences. Now I have 2 pilot skill 3s with comm relay, and Tyson's got a pilot skill 2 with comm relay and an astromech and integrate. So we've got a enhanced core set game here.
Right. He does have his integrated astromech, but you guys also have the comm relay.
Yeah, Tyson there eyeballing probably whether or not he can make it around that asteroid with a straight or a K turn. That Zeta TIE Fighter on the left is probably we're just gonna turn hard in and barrel. We'll try to get that shot now that I have. If I need to barrel roll, I will. If I don't, I'll just focus. But Tyson is turning on the inside of this TIE Fighter here, which I think is really good, taking a Talon roll to try to get on the inside.
Yeah, that's not a bad move. It's a good choice because if he pursues that other TIE Fighter, you might be taking a K turn this turn. It's very possible. Then he ends up where he's very possibly in the sight of 2 TIE Fighters. I think he wants to limit what he's getting shot at this point.
Right. You have, either way, I think he has a poor suite of decisions here because the TIE Fighters are spread out and he's only poised to chase one of them, right? So either way, you're going to have 1 TIE Fighter on your tail.
Well, and he's going to have to make that red turn eventually anyway. That's just a fact of flying the T-70s. They're very, very difficult to joust unless you're taking red maneuvers.
Yep, and here comes the other TIE Fighter around the rock here. I predicted that he might go after that TIE Fighter, so I'm going to go ahead and put a target lock down because it's going to be range 1. I'll be rolling 3 dice with the target lock, and we'll see if some of that damage goes through.
You can't beat that. Now, I can't remember. Is this X-Wing still full?
Yes, that X-Wing has not been touched yet. It still has integrated astromech up. I'm glad I took the target lock here because I'll target lock and roll into 3
Your target locks were hot.
Right there. Yeah,
because I think every time you target locked, you rolled them in 2 hits.
Yep, Tyson spending the evade. It looks like he kind
2
of
hits
blanked
and a
out
crit
there.
So
he's spending the evade to ensure that his shields don't go all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
And then firing back on this Zeta range 1, rolling really well there. That's a second
nice
4-dice
shot
that he's got all 3.
And we say
focus
3 evades and the evade token.
Well, yeah. So it was something like 2 focuses and evade. And so I just spend the focus and evade.
I think you had focus, evade, and the target lock was for before. So
like my roll was like evade, focus. So I spend the focus and evade and dodge all.
Well, you had 2
shots.
evades and a focus, so you focused that, and then you used evade for the 4. So he rolls 4 natural dice. You can't get much better than that, and you evaded the entire thing.
Oh yeah. Comm relay there helping me out a lot.
Comm relay was big there.
Nice actions helping me out a lot there. And now Tyson's poor T-70. Is not in a great position here. Yeah,
that could have been a game changer.
Yeah.
4 dice on anything else that wasn't set up that way, you could have been off the board.
Right. And that was a really great shot too because I had no shot back.
Right.
Yeah, so that was almost game changer roll, but
almost.
Unfortunately for Tyson,
not.
Focus invade is still a focus invade on a TIE Fighter nonetheless. With my tendency to roll real swingy on TIE Fighter evades.
Right.
Yep. So at this point, I think that the TIE Fighter in the lead. I mean, I might try to come and turn around so I can get.
He's certainly got the harder choice. He's stressed. He's got to make a. I mean, he really wants to make a green maneuver and get his actions back.
Right. I think in this case, what he does is, one bank. The other option was a 2 hard turn to try to head off a K turn that TIE Fighter might make.
Right, he still has his astromechs. All his 1s and 2s are green, so he could make any turn, 2 move, including the 2 turn, and still shed that stress.
And this, I can't actually remember exactly why I made this particular maneuver, maybe I expected something a little bit faster, but in any case, I'm not being shot at by that T70. So I'll just go ahead and recharge the evade. Actually, that's what it was. Now I remember now. I'm trying to get out of the firing range so that I can recharge the comm relay. And then bring it back in with focus and evade. Right. And that's what that 3-bank was for. If he had done a too hard, I would have bumped and not got shot at anyway. And
so
here's another range 1 target lock shot from that TIE fighter, which I won't even need to target lock. There's 3 natural hits. Looks like maybe 1 evade.
I think, he uses his focus there to get 2 evades on that, so it takes 1.
He only had 1 symbol, it looked like there. So
was it?
Yeah, so he'll take 1, and he's going to toss that with integrate. No, he's actually not going to toss that because that's a damaged cockpit crit, which is not super relevant in this game. So he's going to he will select to keep integrated.
That makes him pilot skill 0, as I recall, and he's already
the lowest pilot skill on the board. Mm-hmm. So you might as well save that for now. Now there is a danger here. If I get 3 hits and he only rolls 1 evade, or if I get a good roll on my next turn, then that integrated astromech might not save him. Right. But Tyson's gambling on the thought that maybe he'll be able to save that integrated astromech for a crit that would have been worse. Right. So that's one of the things I really like about integrated astromech is there's a lot of player agency. There's a lot of room to choose when you use it to help you out the most.
That's what I've been saying. If you listen to the guys, the Southern California guys down there from Minox Squadron, they're saying the same thing. That is a huge ability to be able to say, this is the one I don't want to take.
Right.
It really is a very powerful thing.
Mm-hmm. People have been saying it's a shield upgrade for 1 point, but it's a little bit better actually than a shield upgrade for 1 point because of that.
Especially if you kill that direct hit. Well, that's 2 points that you just saved yourself.
Exactly. Here comes a Talon rollback from that T70, just trying to get a shot.
Again, T70 is probably the biggest flaw in my opinion is having to take reds to joust.
Well, I mean that'll go with any ship that can't 1 hard barrel roll, can't 1 hard boost, can't turn itself tightly without.
It does have the boost, but that doesn't help it doesn't quite help enough to make up for taking those reds, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I'll just go ahead and put myself in a really good position here. I got the target lock from last turn, so I'll have target lock, focus, evade on that ship. That TIE fighter is undamaged, and I just have 2 shots here. I think I'm deciding whether or not I want to just deny Tyson the pleasure anyway and barrel roll out of arc, or just focus and go for the
and here
shot.
Comes the barrel
and
roll.
Here comes the barrel roll. Yep.
Brutal.
Yep. So I'll barrel roll out of the range 1 shot.
Insult to injury, as they say.
Yeah, I'll barrel out of the range 1 shot, but I'll take the one with no retaliation. Yep, and there's target lock. I'm gonna get
and
2
target
hits
lock
off
into
of that.
2 hits again. That target lock coming through for you.
Yep, and it looks like here no evade. So he's gonna have to toss that astromech.
Yep, no choice there, unfortunately.
Right, and that's one of the concerns when saving integrated astromech is that there's a chance that the next shot won't save you.
Right.
But in this case it did, so we still got a game here.
It did its job. Integrated astromech did its job.
Yep, saved him for another turn. Tyson's probably going to turn in green here. Probably, well, he can't anymore take a 2 hard turn because that R2 is gone.
Yeah, well, it's not gone, but it's just not green anymore. So.
Well, the R2 astromech is gone.
Yeah, the R2 astromech is gone.
But the hard 2 is no longer green. So if he wants to clear that stress, he's going to have to take a 1. But it looks like he's going to take the hard 2.
He takes the chance.
Yep, in the hopes that that's just going to give him a better shot. Yep.
Sometimes it's a smart play, right? You
right.
take that just to fool your opponent, and maybe get that shot that they didn't expect you to be able to get.
Yeah, and in this case, it is blocking that Zeta. Mm-hmm. So that's 1 shot that's not going to come in at him. But this other Zeta is going to have a hard time being blocked like that. So he's going to come in, range 2. Now I could barrel roll out
again.
Here.
The barrel rolling out of the way. It's very likely.
But in this case, I'm just going to take the focus and try to end it with.
Well, that was nice of you.
Yeah, that was awful altruistic.
I mean, you had the target lock. You didn't really have
don't
to.
need the target lock.
Here it is,
and
that's
there
the
it
end of
goes.
the game right there. Okay.
Yep.
Nicely done. Nicely flown. Especially by Ace. No offense, Tyson. Maybe could have. I think the biggest thing was his YT early on. taking the safe move to turn, make a pilot turn to the left when he should have turned right, and he probably would have gotten all three of those blocks.
And start like using those anti-pursuit lasers in earnest and really gumming up the formation.
Yeah, exactly. You might have put 3 damage out there with anti-pursuit, up to 3 damage onto all 3 of those ships, and put them blocking them.
I think this is where we're discussing that right now. Yep.
Yeah. So, he's saying the exact same thing. Had he turned in, that would have been a much bigger. And his X-wing still would have got a shot and probably even a range 1.
Yeah.
One of those. So.
Yeah, and they had their actions before, so they'd have range 1
and
focus,
then you would have
range
rolled,
1 target lock,
then you would have rolled
and then
3 and used your evade token anyway. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, nicely played game by both. Again, as you can see, these games turn out a lot closer than maybe they seem like when we just talk about them. So I'm glad we're able to put them up. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm producer Joe,
and I'm host Asa Graff, and we'll see you next time on Back to Dials TV. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good day.
Bye bye.